Hey guys, today I'll be making a prediction for the 2024 presidential election, this one between incumbent President Joe Biden and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So, Joe Biden right now is definitely a pretty popular president, but Ron DeSantis is the new frontrunner for the GOP, and I think that he would definitely be a formidable candidate for the incumbent president. So, taking a look at the betting odds right now, Ron DeSantis now has the highest chance out of any Republican to win the Republican Party nomination in 2024 over Donald Trump, and Ron DeSantis has been consistently polling in first if Donald Trump is not included in those polls. So out of every single Republican contender in 2024, with the exception of Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis is always in first place, and he has really gained in support over the last couple of months. He started off this year on Inauguration Day at just 7 cents per share at winning the nomination. He is now all the way up at 24. No other Republican has seen such growth over the last couple of months. You definitely saw Kristi Noem's chances have increased a little bit. However, definitely not even close to as much as they have for Ron DeSantis. And Ron DeSantis now is the front runner for the 2024 Republican Party nomination, and I want to take a look at how he would do against a very popular Democratic president, that being Joe Biden. Joe Biden right now has a plus 27.8% approval on his handling of the coronavirus, which really is probably the biggest issue our country is facing right now, and he has a 27.8% approval rating at his job at dealing with that, and his job approval on the economy is pretty strong as well, 11.9%. This is actually his weakest part. This was the thing that he was attacked for the most among Republicans. People said that Joe Biden would be terrible for the economy. However, I think that he's definitely been able to prove many of them wrong. He has the 11.9% job approval on the economy. However, taking a look at foreign policy, this is definitely his lowest approval, 7.2%. Just everything that happened with China, the argument, as well as everything that's been happening at the border. I think definitely this has been a weak point for Joe Biden. But taking a look at the major issues, the one that our country is facing the hardest right now, Joe Biden is still pretty popular, and his approval rating on average is 15.8%. This is his general job approval for President Biden. So his approval still stands pretty strong. It's actually been going up over the last couple of days, and I think it's definitely something that he should be very happy about for right now. So taking a look at this map, I'm going to start off by filling in the solid states for the Democratic Party and for Joe Biden, and then filling in the solid states for Ron DeSantis. Alright, so for the solid states for incumbent President Joe Biden, I have all of the West Coast states here. They're all going to be solid for Biden, as well as Hawaii, and then most of the upper Northeast are all going to be solid states for the incumbent. So these are all going to be very, very blue. He won all of these states by solid margins in 2020, and the only state that he did not, that I'm going to put in a solid column, is Colorado. I think definitely the margin here can go above 15%. It was 13.5% in 2020. In 2016, Clinton only won it by 4.9%, and Obama, even in 2008, only won Colorado by 9%. So Joe Biden definitely did very, very well in Colorado. He did better than John Hickenlooper here as well, and I think that 2024, he'll be able to increase his margin up to 15%, making it a solid state. Now, before I fill in the solid states for Ron DeSantis, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, the link to which is at the very top of the description below. We have a pretty cool mock government on there, so make sure you join that if you haven't. So taking a look at the solid states for Ron DeSantis, there are going to be quite a few. I do think that he's going to do very well in the South. That's essentially where he's from. I think that states like Mississippi will be pretty solid for him, although Mississippi has not been exactly the most sort of lively, solid state for the GOP. They have basically won it, in every single election over the last couple of decades, but the margins here haven't always been the greatest. South Carolina is not going to be solid, nor is Alaska. So this gives Ron DeSantis just 80 electoral votes, but states like Montana, Kansas, Missouri, these are states that he's going to win, but the margins are not going to be solid. Many of these states, Indiana, South Carolina, and the state of Alaska. So this gives Ron DeSantis 124 electoral votes. South Carolina, Alaska, I think it'll be around, 11, 12%. He'll do pretty average here for a Republican, but definitely not going to be a solid margin. Indiana, this was a solid margin for Trump in 2020 and 2016. However, he was running with Mike Pence, the former governor of the state, who really did help Donald Trump boost his margin, because in 2012 this state only went to Mitt Romney by 10%. 2016 it went to Trump by 19%, and then now 2020 did drop down to 16%. So Indiana's still a pretty solidly red state for the GOP, but with Ron DeSantis not running with someone from Indiana, I think definitely it'll be a little bit harder for him to win, and this gives Ron DeSantis now 124 electoral votes. As for the lean states or the likely states for Joe Biden on this map, starting off with, of course, New Mexico, definitely going to be a lean state for the Democratic president. I think that New Mexico is not going to go over 15%, but I think that is 10% margin, which was, again, pretty strong, can definitely increase by a little bit. This wasn't as large of an increase as Colorado, as Clinton won this state by around in 2016. She won it by around 8% as well. So definitely not the huge increase that Joe Biden wanted here. It was projected that New Mexico could really be a solid state in 2020, but still he did still do relatively well here in New Mexico. That's going to give Joe Biden an extra 5 electoral votes. Minnesota, I also do believe, will be likely for Joe Biden. It was likely for him in 2020. Of course, Clinton did terribly here, but I think that Joe Biden will be able to hold on to the state's likely status for him in 2024. And then the final likely state I have is the state of Virginia. This is definitely a state that Democrats did well here in 2020. Joe Biden won this state by 10%, I believe, in 2020. So yeah, 10% for Joe Biden. If you look back at 2016, this was a state that Hillary Clinton only won by 5.3%, and Tim Kaine, the former governor and the current senator from the state, was from the state, and they only won it by 5%. Joe Biden wins it by 10%. So definitely Virginia was very good for Joe Biden, and this will give Joe Biden 217 electoral votes. I also have one more area, and that is the 2nd District of Maine, which I believe will be another key area that I think Joe Biden will do well in. I don't think he's going to win back the 2nd District of Maine, but I think that the at-large vote is definitely going to be pretty strong for the incumbent. So this gives Joe Biden 219 electoral votes now to Ron DeSantis at 124, and now we have really the more competitive states that are left on this map. So taking a look, I'm going to take a look at the lean states for Ron DeSantis first, and these are the states of Iowa and Ohio. I think Iowa and Ohio, they're definitely not going to be the strongest margins for Ron DeSantis. I think definitely they're going to decrease from 2016 and 2020 with the strong margins that Donald Trump saw in these two states over both Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Ron DeSantis likely continue the victories here for the GOP in 2024, but I think the margins really won't be as strong as they were for Trump. Ron DeSantis, still, at the end of the day, is not Donald Trump. He does not appeal to the Rust Belt as well as Donald Trump did in 2016 and 2020. So this will be two key states for Ron DeSantis. And another lean state I have on this map is Texas. I think that definitely Texas will be a lean state for Ron DeSantis. This was the margin that Donald Trump saw here in 2020. He won the state by 5.6%. I really don't see Ron DeSantis increasing this margin by too much. I could see it increasing at most 1%, but I don't think that he can cross the 7% threshold for the Republican Party. 2016, Trump won it by 9%, and then look back at 2012, this was a Romney state by 15.8%. So definitely Donald Trump has been terrible for the state of Texas, but the state in general has been shifting to the left over the last couple of decades, and that definitely has not helped the GOP. I think that when they lose Texas, it'll be devastating for the Republican Party, because look at, if you just give Democrats Texas, they had 260 electoral votes. They need one more state, and they win the election. They don't even have New Hampshire yet. So definitely this will be a disaster for the GOP if they lose Texas at some point in the future. But right now, Ron DeSantis, it's pretty much going to go to him. There's really no chance that Joe Biden will defeat Ron DeSantis in Texas, and there's really no chance that Joe Biden wins Texas in general unless you have some really horrible candidate running on the Republican ticket. So Texas, it's going to go red once again, and that will give Ron DeSantis 41 electoral votes, putting him up at 188. Now, another major state I'm going to give to the governor, and that is the state of Florida. Florida, another lean state that I want to give to Governor Ron DeSantis. This is the state that he's from. He's the governor of Florida. I think it's definitely going to help him. Donald Trump won this state by 3% in 2020. In Florida, it's been a lean state, but it's definitely favored incumbents. It's also favored the Republicans a little bit more than Democrats just in general. Although Florida does like incumbents, Ron DeSantis is the governor of the state, and definitely he would be able to sway more independents on his side than someone from Delaware. So I think that Ron DeSantis winning in Florida is very, very likely in 2024. And I think that that's one of his major aspects about him, is that he can win Florida, because Florida is not set in stone for the GOP. They do need to work for this state, and this will be a crucial state for them. They cannot win in 2024 without the state of Florida. So that gives them 219 electoral votes. And then for Joe Biden, I'm going to give him the state of New Hampshire. I think New Hampshire will definitely be a lean state for Joe Biden, as well as the 2nd District of Nebraska. This was lean in 2020. It went by around 6% for Joe Biden. However, in 2024, I think the margin is going to go down, but still remain over 2%. As for the state of New Hampshire, I think this will definitely be disappointing for Joe Biden. I think he'll do a little bit worse here. He won it by 7.4%, but you got to keep in mind the margin for Hillary Clinton in 2016 was just 0.37%. So I don't think Joe Biden will do too much better than Hillary Clinton in 2024. I think he'll definitely do a couple points better, but I could definitely see the margin decreasing in New Hampshire in 3 years. The 2nd District of Maine, I'm just going to get this out of the way, that I'm going to give to Ron DeSantis with a tilt margin. I think that definitely it was Donald Trump that flipped this. It was clearly Donald Trump. 2012, this went to Obama by 8%, but then in 2012, Donald Trump comes in and he wins the 2nd District of Maine by 10.3%, and then 2020, it was likely again at 7.4%. I think the margin's definitely going to go down, but I think that Donald Trump has created enough of a drop for Ron DeSantis for him to still win the state, even though his margin is going to fall by quite a bit. So this gives Ron DeSantis 220 electoral votes to Joe Biden at 224, and now we have the real lean states on this map, the really close states on this map. So I'm going to start off by filling in at the states for Biden and then the states for Ron DeSantis. So I'm going to start off by taking a look at the Rust Belt. And the Rust Belt states, I think Joe Biden, honestly, I think he's going to win all 3 of them with lean margins, not tilt margins like we saw in 2020. I just honestly think that Joe Biden is a strong candidate in the Rust Belt. He's from Pennsylvania, and I think that he'll be able to do well in both Wisconsin and Michigan. If you look at the margins over time, 2012, of course, these all went to Barack Obama by pretty strong margins. 2016, of course, Trump flipped these back by the slightest of margins, but then in 2020, Biden was able to flip them back. Not exactly the strongest of margins, but still stronger than Trump's in both Michigan and Pennsylvania. However, the issue for DeSantis is that he is not Donald Trump. Once again, it was Donald Trump that flipped these states. These states are not going Republican just in general. These states are still going to Democrats in many races. And Ron DeSantis, unless he becomes Donald Trump, I don't see him winning the Rust Belt. He really does not appeal to the Rust Belt, as even close to as much as Joe Biden does. So this will give Joe Biden 268 electoral votes to Ron DeSantis at 220. A tilt state I have for Joe Biden is actually Nevada. Nevada really hasn't been the best for the Democratic Party over the last couple of years. As you can see, 2008, this was very solid for Barack Obama, 12.5%. It's since decreased. 2016 and 2020, the state of Nevada were all lean margins by 2.4% for both Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. So I definitely have this in the Biden column, but I think that's going to be closer than it even was in 2020. And in 2020, Nevada was pretty close, and it took a pretty long time for the votes to get counted there. So this will give Joe Biden 274 electoral votes, which means he would win re-election. The final state I have for him, though, is the state of Georgia. I can see Joe Biden winning the state of Georgia once again in 2024. I think definitely everything that they did over the last couple of decades with Stacey Abrams, Barack Obama being there towards the end, and all the campaigning that Biden inherited in Georgia, I think definitely that all paid off in 2020 when they won not just the presidential election here, as well as the 2 Senate runoffs, giving them both the Senate majority and the presidential election. So Georgia really was a blessing to the Democratic Party in 2020. I think that they'll be able to keep up that momentum coming into 2024. However, Arizona, I think, is a little bit of a weak spot for Joe Biden. I think definitely it'll go blue in the future again. But in 2024, Ron DeSantis, I think that in the Sun Belt, I think Ron DeSantis definitely is appealing to many independents in Arizona. And, you saw all of the people that are upset because Trump lost there. It was a huge thing in Arizona. But Biden won the state by a very slight margin of 0.3%. It's definitely not too comfortable for Joe Biden, and I think that Ron DeSantis will be able to capture that and be able to reclaim the state of Arizona for the Republican Party. So this will be a 12 electoral votes for Ron DeSantis, putting him up at 232. But North Carolina, I would have to give Ron DeSantis with a tilt margin. I think Joe Biden can definitely get within 2%, maybe even 1% of DeSantis here, but still, it really hasn't been going too much to the left. Of course, Barack Obama flipped this state in 2008. 2008, this was a blue state on the map here at 0.33% from the 12.4% margin that Bush saw. But Bush, he was strong in 2024. In 2008, Barack Obama is a once-in-a-lifetime candidate, and he did very, very well there. I don't see Joe Biden doing the same in 2024. So, the map is also a lot less fluid now. Flips definitely happen a lot less in today's, political climate here. So this will give Joe Biden 290 electoral votes to Ron DeSantis at 248. So this will be a pretty strong victory for Joe Biden. Definitely is a clear victory for him. I think he'd want a larger margin. He did lose the state of Georgia, but I think the Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, I think these three states could definitely go either way, but right now I have them favored, 1 for Biden and then 2 for DeSantis at this moment in time. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you join my Discord server if you haven't. Liked this video down below if you enjoyed it. Comment down below who you think would win between Joe Biden and Ron DeSantis. Subscribe to my channel if you have not, and I'll see you guys in the next video.